Herzlich willkommen, liebe Zuschauer, zu einer weiteren Folge von Im Auge des Bruders mit Scott Ritter hier auf unserem YouTube-Kanal Gegenpol. Mein Name ist Monique Stegemann und in dieser Woche geht es um folgende Themen. Militärputsch in Gabun. Wendet sich ein weiteres afrikanisches Land vom Westen ab? Eskalation im südchinesischen Meer. Droht ein Krieg zwischen China und den Philippinen? Und welche Funktion haben Kriegsschiffe und Flugzeugträger in der modernen Kriegsführung? Wenden wir uns abschließend der Ukraine zu. Vergangene Woche soll sich der Oberbefehlshaber der ukrainischen Streitkräfte Valeri Salushny mit dem Chef des Verteidigungsstabs der britischen Streitkräfte, Admiral Tony Radakin, und dem US-General Christopher Cavoli, dem Befehlshaber der NATO-Truppen in Europa, getroffen haben. Hintergrund soll die Unzufriedenheit der NATO mit der ukrainischen Strategie bei der Offensive sein. Welche Auswirkungen hat das Treffen für die ukrainische Strategie? Sind schon Änderungen auf dem Schlachtfeld sichtbar?
When Ukraine and NATO collaborated to build the current counterattack force, 12 brigades, Ukraine had said we need, this many tanks, this many infantry fighting vehicles, this much artillery, this much ammunition. It was done with a design of turning that force into a NATO-style combined arms offensive strike force that would use NATO-style combined arms warfare to defeat the Russian defensive positions. Combined arms warfare is an extraordinarily difficult way to fight. It requires that every aspect of it, combined arms warfare brings together the infantry, the artillery, the armor, the air, the electronic warfare, logistics, engineering. All these individual skill sets not only have to be experts in what they do individually, but then they have to learn to come together and work in concert with one another. There's a tremendous amount of training required to do this. You can't take Ukrainian soldiers who receive 21 days of basic training and then 3 weeks of combined arms training and expect them to replicate the skill set that a NATO-style force has that has, received months and years of training on this. There's artificial expectations on the part of NATO that Ukraine would be able to replicate what they had learned in the classroom on the battlefield. But as General Zelensky has pointed out to his NATO partners and counterparts, you can't speak of doing NATO-style warfare if you don't have NATO-style resources. And the major resource missing from the Ukrainians is air power. They have no air power. They have no ability to sweep the skies free of Russian fighters, to prevent Russian helicopters from flying, to interdict Russian air defense, or to provide close air support to advancing Ukrainian soldiers. And so the Ukrainian counteroffensive was doomed to fail. The United States and NATO have countered by saying, we knew this going in, and we knew that you were going to take casualties. But the important thing is that once you start the fight, you have to press the fight. You have to keep pushing. Ukraine cannot be casualty averse. We trained 60,000 troops. 40,000 are dead. I don't know how much casualty averse you want the Ukrainians to be. They've shown a willingness to throw their troops into the battle. What Ukraine has said initially is that the massed armored attacks didn't succeed, that what they're doing instead of massed armored attacks was to instead lead with infantry and let the infantry work its way forward through the minefields into the obstacle belts and get closer to the Russians, push the Russians back. And Ukraine has done that with limited success. I mean, they lose an awful lot of people this way as well. But NATO is saying this is too slow. You're not going to get the dramatic results that you need in the time that you need them. You have to go back to these massed armored attacks. So I think what we're seeing right now is Ukraine trying to make one last adjustment. In the course of the past week, we've seen Ukraine launching massive armor attacks, and they have made some gains. They've gained a kilometer here, 2 kilometers there, 5 kilometers here, but the costs are prohibitive. Ukraine has committed its last strategic reserves into this fight. They are being decimated as we speak, and when those reserves are depleted, Ukraine won't have anything to sustain the fight, and whatever gains they've made will be given back to Russia as Russia counterattacks and then pushes Ukraine back further. This is the reality of the Ukrainian counteroffensive. It's doomed to fail. It was always doomed to fail. And the sad thing is that NATO allowed this to happen because NATO isn't doing this because they believe Ukraine can win. NATO is doing this because they want to inflict harm on Russia. The NATO goal and objective is not to see Ukraine seize Crimea through force of arms, but rather for Ukraine to inflict such harm on Russia that the Russian political will to fight ends, and Russia will voluntarily withdraw from the territories, including Crimea. It's wishful thinking. It's not going to happen, but when theory meets reality on the battlefield, the result is always dead people, and there's a lot of dead Ukrainians right now because of this tragic mistake being made by NATO and the Ukrainian government.
Vielen Dank, Scott, für deine Zeit und deine interessanten Analysen. Wir freuen uns jetzt schon auf nächste Woche. Dankeschön.
Have a good day.
Meine lieben Zuschauer, auch an euch herzlichen Dank fürs Zusehen. Wenn euch die Sendung gefallen hat, teilt das Video doch bitte breit in den sozialen Medien, abonniert eben noch unseren Kanal Gegenpol und vor allem, wenn ihr selbst mal Fragen habt, die wir an Scott Ritter stellen sollen, dann schreibt sie uns doch in die Kommentare. Bis dahin, bis nächste Woche, eure Monique.